everyone. I would like to call to order the January 4th, 2022 Home Advisory Group meeting to order. Roll call, please, Marjorie.
Consuelo Aguilas.
Present.
Don Bastian.
Here.
Ruth Broder. Amy Chavez.
Here.
Lori Chassie. Michael Crandall. Paula Garcia. Here. William Henneth.
Here.
Lynn LaPlante.
Here.
Donald Pachowski.
Here.
Julie Renahan. Scott Biger.
Here.
James A.
Here.
Okay, and there's been a request to allow remote participation from member Jim Zay under Section 7A of the Open Meetings Act. Pursuant to Section 7A of the Open Meetings Act, if a quorum of the members of the public body is physically present, as required by Section 2.01, a majority of the public body may allow a member of that body to attend the meeting by other means if the member is prevented from physically attending because of 2, employment purposes. Is there a motion to allow member Zay to participate?
So move.
Second.
Wonderful. Welcome to the meeting, Jim. Glad you can participate.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any public comment?
No public comment.
Okay, thank you very much. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Wonderful. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, roll call, please.
Okay. Sorry. Paula Garcia.
Aye.
Lynn Henneth.
Aye.
Consuelo Aguilas.
Aye.
Don Bastian.
Aye.
Amy Chavez.
Aye.
Lynn LaPlante.
Aye.
Don Pachowski.
Aye.
Julie Renahan.
Aye.
Scott Biger.
Aye.
James A.
Aye.
Wonderful. That motion passes. I will entertain a motion to approve action item, recommendation for approval of a third modification, second time extension of a Home Investment Partnerships Act funds program between DuPage County and Warrenville Horizon Limited Partnership Project, numbers HM 18-06, HM 19-06, HM 20-05, Warrenville Horizon Senior Living Community, extending the project completion date through February 28, 2022. Thank you, Member Chavez. Thank you very much. Any questions before Dave can give us, fill us in on some of this?
I can give you the quick spiel. So the final draw is for $255,000. This is project has gone really well. This is just a small extension to give them the final time to get all the final paperwork together. But the building is beautiful, and we've had a ribbon cutting, and it is looking great, leasing up. There's no real concerns with the project or the property. This is just to give them a little bit of extra time just to make sure we can get everything in and done. I've said before, we're not ever thrilled with time extensions just for paperwork, but this project has really performed well and has done well, and I don't have any specific concerns. So we'll get the final $255,000 drawn, and then that will be the well, not the end, the beginning, the end of the construction part and the beginning of the home monitoring part, because we're in this project for 20 years.
Dave, what was the total amount that we provided for this project?
Just over 2 million, or 2.5, I'm sorry, because the final retention would be 10%. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Does anyone have any questions about that? No? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. That motion passes. Thank you very much. Any other business? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you. And a second. Wonderful. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. That motion passes. This meeting is adjourned to the next meeting date, which is February 1st, 2022. Thank you very much. We have a few seconds until we can begin our next meeting. So if everyone gives you plenty of time to travel there to get there. I'm never going to get tired of this joke. Everyone pretend that we haven't seen each other in a long time, okay?
It feels like.
Oh, 11:05. Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. So good to see you all. I am calling the January 4th, 2022 CDC Executive Committee meeting to order. May I please have a roll call?
Consuelo Aguilas.
Here.
Don Bastian.
Here.
Amy Chavez.
Here.
Lori Chassie, Michael Crandall, Paul Garcia. Here. William Hennick,
Here.
Lynn LaPlante,
Here.
Donald Pachowski,
Here.
Julie Renahan.
Here.
Scott Biker,
Here.
James A.
Here.
Okay, and just to continue on our groundhogs theme, we are going to vote again to let members A participate under Section 7A of the Open Meetings Act. Pursuant to Section 7A of the Open Meetings Act, if a quorum of the members of the public body is physically present as required by Section 2.101, a majority of the public body may allow a member of that body to attend the meeting by other means if the member is prevented from physically attending because of, in this case, number 2, employment purposes. Is there a motion to allow members A to participate pursuant to 7A of the Open Meetings Act?
So moved.
Wonderful. We have, in a second? Okay, fantastic. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Welcome back, members A.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I know we have a public comment. Would you please read that into the record?
Right. The meeting date is for January 4th, 2022. The meeting is Community Development Commission. The name Barbara Cerny, organization Ray Graham Association. Address 901 Warrenville Drive, Suite 500, Lyle, Illinois, 60532. Daytime phone 630-562-2119. Comment type, provide testimony / public comment. Subject, public comment for Ray Graham Association. Ray Graham Association would like to express appreciation for the opportunity from DuPage County to renovate our group homes. We are sincerely grateful for the efforts of Julie Hamlin and Michael Walker in assisting us in this process. This support on behalf of people with disabilities in DuPage County is a vital human service and contributes to a stronger and vibrant county. The county funding helps us fulfill our mission and allows the people we support to have safe and comfortable places to call home. Barb Cerny, Ray Graham Association, Grants Administrator.
Thank you very much for reading that, and thank you for that public comment. That was lovely. And do we have another public comment? Any others?
Did you sign in for public comment?
I did. It's for the extension for Fiscal.
Yes, go ahead.
Here.
Here it is. Go ahead. You're up.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Teague.
Can you please come over here so we can get you on the camera? Thank you so much.
Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Teague. I'm the Director of Grants for Kids Above All, and I am here to speak on behalf of our request for a 5th modification to our agreement, which is a time extension. Just really quickly, we've already had a few modifications, 2 of which were regarding the scope of work, and 2 of which were extensions. The first extension was mainly due to COVID because unfortunately we had finished our bid specs right before everything shut down, so we had to put everything on hold. And then the second time extension was due to unfortunately many issues that we've had working with the contractor that had been a low bid. So our 5th modification is for a final extension. The work is 99.9% done. We have had the inspection from DuPage, and there are some minor issues that need to be repaired from the work with the contractor. I spoke with the contractor at detail this morning, and she assures me that they can wrap up those issues within a day or so. And she assured me that they will get out as soon as possible, that those are easy repairs to do. Additionally, we are asking for the extension in order to complete the paperwork so that we can have the final request for payment submitted with everything necessary. There was outstanding items for the contractor. The contractor provided 2 of the documents last night and some additional documentation this morning. So we are well underway to have those done by the time extension that we have requested, which is February 25th. We are actually hoping to be done in January, but we gave ourselves a little bit of buffer room. We understand that this is an extension beyond what would normally be allowed, and we would be grateful if you would allow this so that we can receive the funding to pay the contractor for the work that has been done at our Lyle and Downers Grove group homes. It was work that was needed in the homes to make them comfortable and livable for the youth that reside there year-round 24/7. And we were relying on the funding in order to be able to complete these projects. If we end up having to seek funding from other places or battles the contractor over the work that has been done. Unfortunately, that does take away funding from the youth in our homes, and we would really like to avoid that if possible. So we are grateful for the support that you have given us in providing this funding. We are grateful for the past extensions and past modifications, and we are hoping that you will provide this additional time extension for us so that we can wrap up and finalize this project. And that's all.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. In a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. This is for the meetings from our Tuesday, December 7th, 2021 meeting. Roll call, please.
Paul Garcia,
Aye.
Consuelo Aguilas. Aye. Don Bastian,
Aye.
Amy Chavez.
Aye.
William Henner,
Aye.
Lynn LaPlante,
Aye.
Donald Puchowski,
Aye.
Julie Renahan,
Aye.
Scott Bider,
Aye.
James A.
Aye.
Wonderful. That motion passes. Thank you. So we move to action item, recommendation for approval of a fifth modification to a community development block grant agreement with Kids Above All, formerly known as Child Serve, project number CD 19-12, Lyle and Downers Grove Group Home Rehabilitation, reducing the scope of work, reducing the funding for a total award amount of $30,043.56, and extending the project completion date through February 25th, 2022.
So moved.
Thank you. And a second, okay. There was a tie. I'm going to have Dave speak to this, and then if you have any questions, I'm sure he'll be able to answer them.
So let me just first start by thanking my staff who have put a ton of effort into this project and who have worked very closely with the partner and with the contractor and tried to do and will continue to try to do whatever we can to get this project done. So I just want to make sure that that is acknowledged. They've done an absolute ton on this project. It's a relatively small dollar amount given some of the projects that we run, but they have just put in an enormous effort and have been very flexible on everything. We're past what we said is our last extension on this. So that was why so there was some concern. That's Ms. Teague alluded to that a little bit. I'm still putting this forth. I'm still recommending that you approve this extension request. It's a good sign that the contractor is back engaged. It's a good sign that obviously Kids Above All is taking this very seriously and is working closely with us to get this done. I will just for the record note that this is a challenge that we have gotten into before with particularly nonprofit partners. It's a challenge on their end because they don't necessarily have architects and engineers and staff that some of the municipalities have. It's a challenge on our end because we end up putting a lot of time and effort into a project that is not for a huge amount of money. So I do want to, I guess, lay some groundwork for, I do think it's important that we have a point where we need to be able to exit some of these agreements. But for the purpose of this meeting today, I would put forth the recommendation that we approve this time extension through February 25th. And to circle back, I would just applaud staff's effort because I know that they will continue to work hard to try to get this project done, even though they've kind of gone past this, what would normally be a normal extension time period. So thank you, Ms. Teague, for coming and comment today. Thank you for board members for listening to my spiel. It's at the end of the day, we're interested in completed projects that are compliant and following all the federal guidelines. And so that's always something that we look at as we're doing these extensions and getting further out. So we're always trying to keep an eye on that. But I'm very hopeful that we are able to finish everything up in January and that we're able to go from there.
Thank you, Dave.
Question.
Yes.
What do we do with contractors not doing their due diligence on this stuff? Do we have any recourse? Because it seems, I all support this, but I understand your frustration and you saying, well, this contractor hasn't done AB. Do we have any recourse? Because I think we should have some recourse against somebody who has not followed a contract, it's a breach of contract, or has not performed the contract. And rather than just say, okay, we're going to reward you with more time, do we have anything in our contract that provides that if you don't have this thing done by X date and there's no reason for it not to be done, do we have any penalty provision, or what do we do with the bad contractor if all we can do is give them more time? I'm supporting this extension, but it just seems to me that, you know, after a while, we kind of reach a point where, you know, we have to do something other than that.
I have the same question. Member
Sure.
Wachowski.
So what's, just first, let's challenge, Mary, you can jump in, I'm sorry. But, so we have an agreement with the partner, and then the partner has an agreement with the contractor. So we don't have a direct relationship with the contractor ourselves as the county. We certainly can pull the funding if we're not comfortable, but then that leaves the partner on, sort of out on a limb, right? So, but in terms of the specifics of what their agreement has with the contractor on the deliverables and what they can enforce, that really ends up being their contract with the contractor. Jump in.
Yeah, we're, you know, we're one arm removed from that arrangement with the contractor. And so obviously we want the nonprofit or the municipality to have some provisions in that contract for lack of performance, but it's not something that, so our obligation and our compliance agreement is with the agency that we provide the funding to.
Their
And so-
only recourse is deny them funding because they
Right.
picked a bad contractor. And a lot of times, like you said, these people aren't artful in knowing how to draft contracts or who they pick. So I don't know, maybe in the future we, you know, could have something, because I'm really sympathetic. But if they decided to pick the wrong person and we don't have the teeth to do it ourselves, my recourse is very drastic. I say, I'm going to pull your funding because the contractor you pick some more on. So I don't know.
Well, it's a sealed bid contract, too,
Right.
so that's another wrinkle to it, because they take the lowest responsible bidder at that time. And so that, you know, it's obviously in hindsight, this contractor has not proved to be either, but at that time, it's very hard to make that decision. So your point is well taken.
Yes, did you have a question? Yes.
I was just gonna add that being on the other side of the CDBG and process and picking a contractor and going through the bidding process, you definitely vet them as much as possible before selecting them. And my experience has been that you could run into this with any project, right? If the contractor's not, you know, living up to the contract and the agreement and deadlines, and you know, you'll keep that in mind in the future. But as it relates to CDBG projects, you definitely want to do everything you can to keep that going, because the contrary might just result in a number of different delays and processes, and CDBG, you have to make sure you keep on track as much as possible and meet time limits, et cetera. So you work with them as much as possible. But yeah, I think you make some really good points in the future, keeping that in mind. But I think in the selection process, my experience has been, you definitely don't see or anticipate these issues related to contract. It could happen.
Thank you for that. Yes, Member Rennigan.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what we do as a county to kind of give a little bit of backbone to these nonprofits, because they don't have whole departments that are engineering departments that can, you know, they can pull this contract because you didn't show up on this contract. I mean, they really are disadvantaged at the basic level, and I hate for us to stop funding these kind of projects when it's so much value added for our residents. So, like, what do we have? Like, does facilities come in and kind of push some buttons or say, hey, you know, get it going, or what do we do?
I mean, well, what we can do and what we will do is put more requirements into it, but I know that that's just a requirement that's falling on the nonprofit, right? So we can require that they have an architect or engineer sign off on the plans, or we can require that they have these components that municipal partners are used to because that you have on staff, but nonprofits don't necessarily. The challenge is that's an additional kind of step for them, right? That's an additional thing that they have to take to compete for these funds. So, and we can't reimburse for all of those. Depending on the service, we can't reimburse for every, you know, there's certain fees that we can't do through CDBG. So, but I don't know, Mayor, if you want to add.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, we are very involved in the bid process right now. I mean, we review and approve their bid specification documents. We review the process that they go through. So we don't just kind of leave them out on their own. We do a tremendous amount of technical assistance on the bid process. We also walk through a setup meeting with the nonprofit as well as the grantee, the contractor that's been selected. So there's a very clear expectation. But Yeah, but to your point, the nonprofit organizations don't have the internal staffing capacity. And so, we try to provide that where we can, but as Dave pointed out, we can't necessarily reimburse. We have had issues before where if there's a particular question about performance or something, we have worked with building and zoning or facilities to say, hey, could you, because we're not experts either. So we have from time to time tapped into the internal resources within county government just to get kind of an expert opinion. Not necessarily that our folks have jurisdiction over that project, but just to give us and the nonprofit organization a little bit more information about what's going on the project.
Right, because I mean, the last thing I, want us to do is not feel comfortable funding a nonprofit project because feeling that they don't have the tools when we know that they really don't have the tools to begin with, right? But we know it helps the residents. So
Right.
This is a policy.
The other thing I continue to, or I will plan to do, we've already talked about this and I plan to continue, is to try to get larger contracts, just because then, at least if we're having this effort that's going, first of all, you likely get a better contractor probably on some of the larger contracts. You'd likely get more interest, more bids, that may address some of that. But also just then there's more justification for the amount of time and effort that goes into getting this project done. And at the end of the day, at least you're, totally redoing a group home instead of what this is minor repairs, minor corrections here, these kind of things. So.
Yes, so we've been talking about that. That's what the whole movement has been this whole year, is to go towards larger projects because of this very issue. And so to reinforce and reiterate what Dave was saying, a really hearty thank you to the staff who have been working extremely hard, and they work just as hard for a $30,000 project as for a very much larger scale project. So that's the point of moving towards these bigger projects. It's the same amount of output, same amount of resources in terms of time and energy and work. So thank you very much to the staff for this and your work on this project. And we hear the frustration, and we see that is a little bit of a fly in the ointment of the system. Does anyone else have any other questions about this? Okay, so all in favor of any opposed? That motion passes. And thank you and good luck, and let's get this wrapped up as quickly as possible. Thank you very much. Our next action item, recommendation for approval of the substantial amendment to the 2021 action plan element of the 2020 to 2024 DuPage County Consolidated Plan, increasing and reprogramming of funds. Thank you, Member Chavez. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. That was also, this is, Member Chavez, you're gonna have to get in there loud and fast. There was another tie.
I was trying to move the meeting along.
I know, I love it. I love it.
All right.
Okay. Any questions, or would you like to comment, Dave?
So this is the Care Center project. So the agreement we currently have is the Care Center gets a set aside every year. They get one grant. So that currently would be $600,000 every year. They get one grant set aside. This is really their 22 projects. So what we've decided to do is to move it up and do it as an amendment to the 21 action plan. The HUD reason for that is then we don't have to wait for HUD to give us our money to get this project moving forward. So we have some existing money that has been left over from previous projects that we were going to reprogram anyway in 2022. So rather than sit there until September and then get the agreements and then tell the Care Center they got to go, we have a way to do it where they can start as soon as all the agreements are finalized. So that was the idea with this. The other point I was going to make is that this is $1 million and the annual set aside is $600,000. What we'll do is take away from future set aside. So they won't get more than that $600,000 per year, so that we're not shorting anyone else kind of in the group of partners. But this is just allowing them to do a larger project and get more done in one go. So I think it was a creative suggestion from staff to do it as an amendment in 21 instead of 22, since we have this funding that's available and can be there now. It's better for timeliness. We'll spend it earlier. We have had many conversations with the Care Center about what their needs are, and we have a couple different, I think we have 5 different projects going on with them right now. So we're kind of always balancing what the needs are and what the best funding source is. So because they have some COVID money that will be doing improvements at the Care Center, they have their annual set aside. So, but that's obviously it's a worthy recipient. I mean, obviously the work that they do is really important and it's eligible. We've already established the environmental. So in that sense, it's a little easier.
Thank you, Dave. Any questions about that? No, seeing none. All in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Action item C, approval of fiscal year 2022 Community Development Block Grant and Emergency Solutions Grant application funding recommendations.
So moved.
Thank you. And a second. Thank you very much.
So I do have a handout on this one. It's 155 pages or so. I thought maybe a cheat sheet would be appropriate. So this is an oversimplification of the document that I'm handing out, but basically what that document is telling you is these are the projects that we're looking at funding in this specific year. So the municipal projects or the nonprofit capital projects. So I kind of just try to say, what are the big dollar value construction projects that we're going to be doing? So what we're actually doing with this action plan is braiding two different application cycles. So you all previously reviewed and vetted an application cycle that happened in 2019 that was for 3 years, the third year of which would be 2022. And then this fall, we went out for new applications from municipal partners, as you are all part of or you all aware of. And we ended up getting 19 total applications that were, out of which 17 were potentially eligible. So what we ended up doing with this action plan is braiding the two of those. All the people that were in the original application that were promised funding or were given an award letter or were told that they were going to be funded are still in the plan, including Serenity House. If you'll recall, we had to move a gas line, and so we had to cancel their agreement, and we said we would bring it back at some point. So we were able to bring that back in 2022, so they're still on the list. In terms of the new application cycle that just ran in the fall, you will see that our 5 principal municipalities are well represented. Those are the largest recipients of our grant funds historically. They are always participating, or they're always applying, and they all applied for 3 applications. And so the 14 funding recommendations are predominantly to those 5 municipalities: Bensenville, Villa Park, West Chicago, Addison, and Glendale Heights, sorry. So, you know, we very much still want to work towards engaging new partners, but we're realizing there's a high bar to getting people to understand how to apply, getting people to work through some of the difficulties with the application. At the same time, I guess I also want to acknowledge that this is where the largest percentage of our low-income populations are. And so it does make sense from that end to say this is where we're going to spend the most money. So it's always a balance of both things. The city of Wheaton is an example where we really tried to reach out to them and get them engaged. They were able to submit 2 applications. One was in a commercial zone, so that wasn't eligible based on that. The other was potentially eligible, but their internal policies are not quite where they need to be. So they did not meet the fair housing requirement. That's a requirement of recipients of federal funds. So we had them sort of as, there's a couple of projects on here that we identified as B-list projects, the projects that might come up if a project funds through. We had them on that list. But we would want them to get that fair housing ordinance in place before we went forward with them. So the exception is the Carroll Stream Park District project did get through, so that is on the list of recommendations. The other projects are predominantly road or water sewer projects for those 5 municipalities that I mentioned. This is our action plan, so it'll have a public hearing. It'll have 2 readings at the county board. This is the funding we're programming for all of 2022. The other thing I guess I would note about this is that we have some of the changes we talked about in May will go into effect with this. So we talked about resetting public service. We talked about doing the larger contracts and more neighborhood investment projects and more municipal projects. This is that starting to go into effect now. If there are any specific questions about the selection process or scoring or projects or any of that, I'm happy to field them, but I can tell you that staff did a very thorough job of looking through all the applications and making sure everyone had the required elements and then scoring them in a way that was transparent and you know, that came out with a recommendation for basically out of those 17. So we had 19 projects that applied in the fall. We had 2 that were deemed ineligible. We had 14 that are in this list, this cheat sheet list as recommended for funding over the next 3 years.
Thank you for this cheat sheet. It is very helpful. Does anyone have questions?
Not to say that you all didn't read the 100.
I read all of them. I'm happy to host book club if we'd like to all go over it later.
Members A has a question.
Oh, members A. Yes.
Yeah, I only got through 78 of those pages. Could you send me the cheat sheet if that'd be okay?
Oh,
Email it to me.
Email earlier today. You should have received it by email.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good efforts, Member Zay.
The only thing.
Yes, Member Chavez.
Is that I do feel like we do see a lot of the same areas come up. And so I just want to say in a public forum that I do think we need to, I know Dave, you did a great job on this last round of reaching out and helping me in Lyle and Naperville and Aurora. But I think every district of our county has low income needs. And how can we really reach out to those areas? I think in our next 3-year cycle, I was very new to this even when this one came around, but what can we do to really encourage that? And I think just so that we do have more variety in where these are going, I know it's hard, but I think every district needs to be represented so that we make sure that we are, actually, I don't know if the right term is spreading the wealth through the county, but I think we do have very urgent needs in every area of the county. So I just want to make sure they get covered.
Yeah, I certainly have some notes for myself about what I would like for next time. Engage earlier is one, like I just think we need to start earlier in the process of, I felt like some of the municipalities that we approached or park districts or whatever felt like it was already too late for them to get everything they needed in order to apply. So I think that's a note that I have for myself.
And I think it's tough, right, because of election cycles as well. We had a bunch of new park district members. I know in Naperville, we had new township supervisors in my area as well. So a lot of those things happen and are actually, I think, election driven, which is also tricky. But I think the more that we can engage their staff beyond those positions, the more that we can really pull. And I want to commend you for the job that you're doing. I'm just asking that we keep an eye out to doing whatever we can from an educational standpoint.
Yeah, that's what we talked about. We talked about education being the key. And so that was part of our informational tour, you know, to go around and say, here's how you apply.
Right.
So we're talking a lot about that, of how to make this very as understandable as and accessible, the application process as possible. Because of course there are needs throughout the county, but these communities and municipalities that did receive it, they do have and for generalization, bigger needs historically.
The other variable that I would just throw out there for the group is that the new census data is going to come out at some point, and HUD updates there, and HUD is very specific about census tracts and who's eligible and who's not. So at some point when that gets updated and spreads out, that potentially some of our eligible areas shift. Some areas that were eligible are no longer eligible. Some areas that weren't are all of a sudden. So that can be and we don't really get like a lot of notice from HUD on when they're going to update that. It's just sort of they work their timeline, and whenever they have completely vetted the numbers, then they release them and they say these are the ones you need to go by. So
Right.
but that's another variable that's out there.
Right, and you also have to have the stars have to align so that you have an eligible project in an eligible location.
Right.
So you may have a low income census tract, but the streets have been resurfaced, there's street lights, there's, the water and sewer lines are perfectly adequate. There's been, a park was renovated 2 years ago. So there's no work to do there. And then you may have other sections of town where you do need those things, but it doesn't qualify as an eligible census tract. So I think that's where the and then the timing has to be right. So you've kind of got these, a multitude of moving parts, and they have to line up together. But I think I would suggest that we start doing kind of an education tour probably a year prior to, I'm not sure what year the next cycle would be in. It'd be 2025, so probably 2024. Be doing an education tour, starting maybe with mayors and managers and township supervisors, and then, really kind of diving down into individual communities.
Yeah, sorry.
No, just to that point, when we get that census data then and those new tracks are identified, that could even be like stage one, I would think, of that tour, so that we really are digging in deep to those newer areas and the different municipalities and areas are recognizing, oh, look, that door opened in that area now. So
the other thing I was going to say is the other variable that comes up, and if you're kind of wondering why projects got put in a specific year, project readiness is the other factor. Like, is the municipality ready to move forward this tomorrow, or is this a project that they have that sort of needs a little more time before it's actually going to be ready to go forward? So that's why you'll see on the list some municipalities are kind of a little more heavily weighted towards the later years, and some are a little more weighted towards the earlier years. But it's by project based on when the project is ready.
Thank you very much for that explanation. Does anyone else have any more questions on this? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. We move to other business. Dave is going to give us an update on our annual spending.
Sure. So 3 quick items of other business. So one is, yeah, we spent $8.3 million total in calendar year 2021. So that's across all of our funding sources, all of our different CDBG, home, ESG. So wanted to take a moment, end of the year, look at the total amount. We processed 435 vouchers and spent about $8.3 million, not even including payroll. So payroll is probably closer to 9. So just to kind of check in to say that was a big year. There's a lot of money that went throughout the door. I expect 2022 will be pretty big too. We'll have the interim housing center is $3 million. We'll have some COVID money that's going out, so it should be a big year too. The one we're kind of not resetting on, but the one we're kind of at the beginning points again is home funding. We're just, the large projects take a long time to set up. We're just finishing 2 or 3 large home funding projects, and so the new ones are just getting off the ground. Anyway. All right, so the second one I was going to update on is timeliness. I've talked about a bunch about timeliness. Happy to report that we have met the timeliness measure for this year, so that's good news for everyone. If we don't do that, we risk losing federal funding, so that's very good. And then I think last meeting or the meeting before, we talked about there was a Department of Labor inquiry with one of the projects in Phillip Park. We were just informed this week that has been dismissed, so it's no longer a concern on our end. But just wanted to circle it back to the group since it was brought up here. That's why we extended the agreement, but it was dismissed faster than we thought. So that probably means that it was not grounded in much, but good news for us.
Yeah, good news all around.
I just want to add on the 8.6 million that went out to the community. I mean, I'd love to see kind of an economic impact. What is the multiplier of that money? Because, remembering that those funds go to they're paying the salaries of case managers for our various nonprofits, they're going to contractors, suppliers. That's $8.5 million that we put into the DuPage federal funds that went into the DuPage economy. So I'm really proud of the staff. We moved a lot of money this year. That's a really big chunk of money. That's what helped us get to our timeliness ratio. So I think it's a tangible impact of what we do. Is what is the economic impact in the community of the funds that we put out there. So thanks to Dave and the staff.
And again, I'll reiterate, thank you to the staff. This is something we talked about right when I began on the board, is saying that we wanted to draw more attention to the good work that is being done through community development, because this is precious work that is having huge impacts on people when they need it the most and during these really, really difficult times. So thank you again to the staff. Really well done. And we're all going to buckle down for 2022 because the work is not done and the needs are great. But it's really impressive to see what's been done. And I just love this work, and we should all feel fantastic about being a part of it. So, and thank you to Mary and Dave for being such wonderful leaders in this on this committee and in this for staff. Thank you very much. Any other business? No. Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting. Do I have a second? Second. Wonderful, that motion passes. Our next meeting date is scheduled for February 1st, 2022. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you then.